Hey guys, how are we doing? Crypto Insight UK here, bringing you back another video. Now you noticed I didn't clap at the start of the video. I'm actually holding my mic in one hand. Still haven't got my new laptop yet. I'm going to get around to it. I'm sorry, I need a new phone as well. Just putting off going to the Apple store because it's not something I enjoy doing. However, we're going to get into technicals today. I'm going to just discuss Bitcoin. I'm going to discuss the relationship with altcoins. I'm going to discuss what I think is coming. And you can love it or hate it. Again, I don't really care. Like, if you do enjoy, please do like, subscribe, and share this video. Like, it helps me out a lot, and this is why I do it, to try and help you guys. Doesn't make a difference to me really whether I do or don't make content. It keeps me kind of sane to make it, because otherwise I'm just checking my own portfolio every day and not sharing it. So that's why I do this. I'm going to discuss liquidity, and I'm also going to discuss technical structures. And this is my opinion. This is my opinion. Before we just quickly do that, what I'm going to discuss first actually is I'm going to discuss Bitcoin, and I'm going to talk about XRP and altcoins and their trade setup that I'm looking at. But just before I discuss that, today is Swell, Ripple Swell. It starts today and also continues into tomorrow. So let's hope that there's an anomaly and we see something good come out of Ripple Swell. Previously, it's been like stole the news sort of thing, but let's see what happens. Anyway. Looking at Bitcoin on a technical level, what can we see here? This is the 4 hour, and I'm going to break it down. What I think we've seen is Bitcoin come into a range on the 4 hour. It's not quite accurate, but let's just say this is a Bitcoin range quite clearly. Started in July, and since then we've basically gone sideways and slowly down for the last few months, which is why everyone's feeling so sad and sorry for themselves. But it's not been easy, and altcoins have bled out more, so I can understand. So what am I thinking here? Well, we've lost the bottom of the range, and there is a potential that we do see a double bottom around this 103,500, I think it is, 103,000, 500 level. It is a possibility, as I said, but I don't know how much I put on that in terms of weighting. It's definitely not something to rule out. I do think that we are going to see all-time highs from here. Let me just preface that before we continue. So I do think there is a possibility we just double bottom here, or just run this low and then continue higher. I do think if we run this low, we probably come to 117 and potentially even lower again. And I think that this area here is our most likely reversal zone, and that is between the 98K and the $88,000 region for a few reasons. I'm going to get into those in a second, but let's just show you why. First off, it's a significant low that we'd be clearing from back in June, and then obviously this consolidation period after a range break from May, and this is ultimate pain. I think that this front runs major support, which is this previous order block level before we started to break out of our last range and move higher. I think a lot of people will have bids in this area, and this area would front run them. So a lot of people maybe would also bid that area to try and front run major support, but also maybe just sitting there with levels. So if we see manipulation in this market, which we clearly obviously do, and all markets like market makers probably want to front run the support, I would have thought. So they're my thoughts on that, and this is backed up by, if we go to the daily time frame, this is the area that I'm talking about. There is liquidity here. Again, this is major support, and there is some liquidity below major support. We're going to have discussions about bear markets if we start to lead to 75K level. If we go into the hourly though, it's a bit more clear, and I'll try and just describe this to you on the hourly liquidity charts. So this is Bitcoin on the hourly liquidity. Here, look, if you see 98K is the densest liquidity, and then yellow liquidity, so second densest, all the way down to about 93. And realistically, that pool stops out around 89. And I said that area was 88K, didn't I? For the major support, but above that is where the major liquidity resides on the hourly. However, above us, we do have more dense liquidity, as I discussed. This is the reason why I'm so feeling towards, or so confident towards, the fact that we're going to go towards all-time highs at some point, because even on the hourly we've got liquidity at 126 and then more at 129. I don't think there is a world where we leave that liquidity behind. I just don't think it is. So if we do go into a bear, I don't think, what I'm trying to say is, I don't think all these people in short positions, which is what this is above us, they don't all win. It just doesn't happen. So on the daily now, we've got liquidity all the way up to 155K, and I think that that's quite likely that we do go up to those levels at some point. Again, I'm not a time predictor. we've got a lot of variables at the minute. I keep writing about them in the newsletter. Sorry, my arm's actually aching. This mic's heavy. There's a lot of variables at the minute. The government shutdown. We're seeing potential for the market structure bill to come in. I think there's going to be a lot of positives going into next year. We've got liquidity squeeze on the banks. We see SOFR, like lending rates, SOFR rates going up because there's so many people trying to borrow overnight. The last 2 days, 22 billion last night and 26 billion the night before. There's strain on the banks, clearly. But I do think that we are going to go into this like area of expansion for assets and increase liquidity. You've seen Japan come out and say they want to increase liquidity. You're also seeing in the US, one of the things the Fed are talking about is joblessness, and I think that joblessness is going to increase. So they're going to probably continue to lower rates and maybe even go further than that and quantitative ease or stimulate because of these issues that I'm going to just discuss here. One being the tightness of bank conditions, but the secondary one being, again, joblessness. And the reason I talk about that is because I think AI is going to slowly take jobs. I'm not saying that AI is going to take over immediately, but it's slowly chipping away at jobs. And I think that the Fed's trying to bring down the amount of unemployment. They normally and have done that in the past by lowering rates. Lowering rates stimulates the economy, but if the jobs are going to continue to be taken by AI, which are cheaper and more productive over time as it gets smarter, but also in certain roles, those jobs are never going to come back. And we're going to try and paper over it the same way that we have forever, which is to stimulate looser monetary policy, etc., get the economy going. So I think assets continue to rise and they still don't fix the problem. And in that case, they probably throw more and more money at it until they realise that the assets, the solution isn't actually fixing the problem anymore. And that's what I think. I think that goes into next year at some point, and we probably realise that. I don't know when we realise that, or if we do. We probably do at some point, but I think by then we'll be in a big bubble, and I think that we go into a much bigger bubble than people expect. And in this AI economy, I think crypto is going to be one of the things that really takes a big positive from that. And before you get any sort of large move to the upside, there's always pain. And I think this is pain, but it shouldn't be on Bitcoin. Like the other thing that I wanted to discuss before I continue to rant is this on the daily time frame. Let's see if there's loads. Yeah, cool. I've talked about pullbacks so far. Every major pullback that we've had has been around the 33% level. So that's 33% for this level back last year. They started, in 2024 and it started in March of 24 and ended in August of 24. And then we had this pullback here, which was also around 33%, 32%. So if we went from the high where we're 33% takers, it would take us into the major support zone. 33% would take us to about 83k, but 30%-ish would bring us down to about the 88,000 region, which would wipe all that liquidity. So it's nothing out of the ordinary. Which is the extra thing I wanted to discuss with you guys. I didn't actually check how big this pullback was here. I'm actually getting hand cramp from holding this mic. It's bloody heavy. But I'm showing you that 33% corrections are not out of the ordinary. So don't be surprised by this. It just feels even worse because alts, again, absolutely railed at the minute. Bitcoin dominance is pushing higher. This is something that I didn't expect. I'll be completely honest with you. I thought, and I've explained why. I don't really need to go through that. Nothing has changed in my Bitcoin dominance thesis. I discussed how when we lose this level here where the horizontal line is, then that's been the acceleration point. Historically, let me just take my drawings off so you can see. This is the horizontal line, like here it's around the 57.24 level, which is literally exactly where we bounced. When we lost that level here, we had the acceleration to the downside, 57.2. When we lost that level here, look, the acceleration to the downside for Bitcoin dominance. That's what I was waiting for. We've had so far just a correction on Bitcoin dominance. Now, whether we continue this or not, again, I don't know. I think we do reverse back to the downside. You could say that some point soon that could happen. We also could revisit this box above. This would be big pain for everybody if we started to push back into this previous alt season start box and then continue downwards. Now, the positives and negatives of that are XRP looks pretty flipping strong compared to the rest of the market still. what I said was, and I've been saying on X, is for 7 years we had an average price of around 50 cent or lower for XRP. God, I'm gonna have to change hands for my mic for a sec. Hopefully I don't just muted it. No, I haven't. It's really heavy, genuinely. I don't know why it's so heavy. It's probably like 4 or 5 kg. And that's really heavy, but I'm holding it with like 2 fingers. It's made my hand cramp. Anyway, I'll get back to this. For 7 years, sorry, I'm still a bit ill as well, as you know. For 7 years, we had an average price of around 50 cent for XRP, and for that time, we couldn't break above $2. Then in November of last year, which actually it started on the 5th of November of last year, just FYI, which would be tomorrow if we live in a simulation, it was exactly a year and it wanted to do the same thing, I'd welcome it. But we have been above $2 now for nearly a year. So we're doing something we've not seen before for XRP, whether people like that or don't like that. We can compare it to the 2017 cycle. We've seen something similar in that sense in 2017, but for the last 7 years, we're doing something that we haven't seen before for XRP. So I'm positive. We're sitting above previous resistance, holding it as support. It's bullish. Obviously, as you can see with the wick on screen, we came back and back tested the previous range on the liquidation wick, and then continued back to holding the levels that we have with no closures in that zone. You could compare it to this level here. I don't actually know how long we consolidated in this period. I hadn't prepared this part. I was just talking to you guys. 231 days we held in that area, and then when we pushed out of that zone, what was the percentage increase? It was another 15x. Like if we do a 15x from here, we'll all be running around going happy clappy, which is be about $30 or so. That'd be very nice. Where am I bidding? What am I doing here in terms of altcoins? Honestly, I'm watching Bitcoin right now. XRP's weekly RSI is now lower than it was from when we started the acceleration, the move here. That's obviously a bullish divergence, hidden bullish divergence, where the price is higher and the RSI is lower. So what am I doing? Am I bidding alts? It's a hard question to answer. Like, I'm flirting with a position in Litecoin because I think that Litecoin, Dogecoin, some of the top 10, 20 assets look very similar structurally. Doge, here we go, the same. That they're making continuous higher lows and higher highs. Yes, we didn't break the high this time, but we are still so far holding the lows. This liquidation wick is a question mark, and that's why I haven't put this bid on Dogecoin specifically, and I have put it on Litecoin because we've still made those higher lows even with the liquidation wick here. I have to swap hands again for this pretty mic. On Litecoin, no, I'm not going to change my grip. On Litecoin, so I've bid Litecoin so far at around 75.62. It's a 40-to-1 risk to reward trade with my stop loss just below this area. I am monitoring Bitcoin because if Bitcoin does quite aggressively flush down, I will probably change my bid on Litecoin. I don't know for sure where I put that entry. I'm going to show you some examples. Look, so for example, if Bitcoin drops another 14% or between 5% to 14%, it could drop, say, 6%, 7%, 8% even. Litecoin probably drops more because that's what's been going on so far, though Litecoin's holding pretty strong right now. But from here, that would be 14%, you see. So that's why I put that buy in there. It matches it with support. But if Bitcoin drops 14, Litecoin drops more, could it just stop me straight out, 22? Potentially. So what I'm going to reassess is how quick this level starts to drop, and then I will look at where I'm going to put this bid. I think this is a fair bid area for now. The other place where I would discuss having a bid would be below this wick here. It would violate this trend line, but we could wick below and take this out, and then potentially even come to the 63 level, and we're going to just look at that quickly on the liquidity pools here. But hopefully you can see my thought process so far for Litecoin, and then we'll finish off with some XRP on the liquidity. But I haven't really got too much to report because everything is pretty much the same. It's on the 4 hour for Litecoin. As you can see, the 4 hour, there's not really any liquidity below us, so it's not helping us too much. We do have the wick on here to $52 on this is on Binance, but all the liquidity sits above us for Litecoin. Really dense area of liquidity. And if you take us to the hourly, just see what changes here. We do have liquidity down to about 83.2 and potentially all the way down to 81. So that's obviously would remove this last wick at 84, and my bid would be at 75. So it's lower than that. This is the 84 wick. I think that if Bitcoin does have the drop that we're discussing, it probably comes lower than what we see there. But again, on the hourly, the liquidity mainly resides above us. So finally, that's why I've got a bit on Litecoin anyway. Finally, let's finish with some XRP. XRP hourly, let's start with that. Again, open interest is super low on XRP. People getting flushed out of positions even now, even when we're quite illiquid and there's not much going on. We do have some liquidity below at 217-ish for XRP, but the dense area of liquidity sits above us at 270. And then we can take us to the daily time frame. Again, similar to Bitcoin, the majority of the liquidity resides above us, all the way up to about 430, with nothing really sitting below. To be absolutely frank with you guys, like this tiny pool here, to 210 and then potentially 175, but I'm not going to write that off. But again, maybe we just sweep the bottom of this wick here, stop these people out who have been like basically trying to long this area, and then reverse. I struggle to believe in a world where XRP doesn't go to all-time high. I know you see a lot over there on X, but I just don't believe it, guys. I haven't sold because I see liquidity above us, and I don't think we're at the end of the cycle. You don't have to agree, that's fine. I know it's been painful. Understand if you can't hold, that's all up to you. It's all emotional management, perspective. I'm showing you literal facts here. There's liquidity above us. 80% of the time we take liquidity. Would you risk on emotion or an 80% chance? That's up to you. That's completely up to you. And that's how I'm going to finish the video. Hope you enjoyed, guys. We can hope for some good news out of Swell. XRP could rip now. There's nothing to say that XRP's got no liquidity below. It's not like Bitcoin. Maybe it takes the lead and really pumps us up. That'd be cool. I'm not saying that is going to happen, but I'm saying it could, and it could be cool. And if you enjoyed the video, guys, please do hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and share it with a friend. If you want to trade in any leverage, I've got a link to MEXC and WEX in the description below. As always, nothing I say in this video is financial advice. Yeah, if you've got any questions, hit me up in the comments section. I'd love to hear what you guys think. I don't want you just to rant about emotion, because there's no point. Like, it's boring, to be honest. Ask me a constructive question. If you've got a genuine concern or a question about something, or you feel a certain way, or you've got a perspective, that'd be great. I want to discuss perspectives. I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm saying why my bets are placed the way that they are, and just being logical about it. Doesn't feel great out there. If you don't want to watch, don't watch. Switch your computer off and go. And like, it's not great for my views, but they're only views. Like, I make this to try and help you guys. Like, that's it. No more, no less. Peace up. A-Town down, as Crypto Insight UK would say.